Hey, everybody. Welcome to this episode of the Brutal Truth About Sales and Selling podcast. Compete to kill. I don't compete to win. I compete to kill, because when you kill your competition, you now have an open field. You now control your territory. You control your business. And a lot of people say, oh, there's plenty for everybody. Yeah. I don't think so. You can have your own view on it. Today, me and Chad are going to be chatting about how do you really block out your competition? How do you win in those really competitive situations? Because in the complex sale, we have just a handful of them every quarter. This is not the transactional sale. In the complex sale, there's only so many to hunt down per quarter. We have to go deep and broad. We have to be smarter, more aggressive, more assertive, wiser, and just more shrewd with our time and our effort to get the results that we want. And we're going to talk through, some war stories, some case studies, some examples of this. Some of the partners that you can use for this, Discover Org. Do you want information? You want org charts? Too many of us are spending so much time researching companies and competitors. Why not have it all there for you? Check out Discover Org for it. And Nudge. Nudge will show you the relationships, because people buy from people. And no matter how good your product is, it's still going to come down to how much they trust you. And if they don't trust you, they're not going to believe what anyone is saying about the product. So this is why you really have to build up those relationships and then keep track of it with Pipedrive. But let's get into it with Chad. I think you're really going to like this one. This is fun. I'm super passionate about this. And this is part of what I teach about in closing the complex sale, in that you have to have the bases covered. You have to know how these decisions are being made. You have to understand the game you're playing. You just can't be blind out there responding to each customer action. So if you want to learn more about the courses, go to b2brevenue.com, and under the training tab, you can schedule a call with me if you're serious. And you can check out the table of contents to give a sense of what the course is all about. And we can talk it over and see if it's a match for you. Let's get into the interview. Hey, Chad, let's talk about competition and, how to kill them. Some people just like to beat them. I don't like to stop there. And I've always been in these early stage beauty contest type of sales where, the VCs fund 5 companies or maybe 3. And there's usually one other guy in your territory. I'm sure everyone else's situation's different. But there's only really a handful of, golden opportunities. And it's either going to go to you or 1 or 2 or 3 of your competitors. Have you ever been in this type of situation, or has it always been a green field for you?
Oh, no. I would, I have dreams sometimes that sales is greenfield, but that is never the case. There's always competition. And depending on what you're selling, competition can be even, more crowded than a couple of VC funded. I mean, with what I do, there's, 10 or 12 companies that we compete with. But I'm with you 100%. I want to, in a way that doesn't damage my relationship with the account or the prospect, I want to help them understand that I am the person to go with, that I've got their back, that we're going to make them successful. And that's all about a strategic, well-executed relationship plan with the customer. And it's also, in order to do it, you have to know your competition. You have to know who they are, not only the companies, but the people. Know the salespeople. Have you ever been in a territory where you didn't know who the competition had out in the field selling against you?
Never.
Never.
Every time I get a headhunter's call, I'd always take it just to find out who they hired, what the person's like, what's their strong point, what's their style, where do they live. And, I even use where they live as, a way of getting into accounts. I go, hey, that person lives an hour from here. If the system's down, they're not going to go through traffic to get here. I'm 15 minutes away. Or that person's got 5 kids. How much time are they going to give to you?
Right. If you don't understand what you're competing against, it's really hard to differentiate. Just as difficult as if you don't know what you are uniquely bringing to the game.
And that's it. When I was a manager, I would always ask the reps, okay, who's your counterpart over at this account? And if they didn't know, I go find out. And then I go, I want you to drive by their house and see if they got a better house than you. And one guy didn't come prepared for his forecast review, and I said, "Give me your wallet." He goes, "Why?" I go, "I want you to feel the way I feel right now. You're stealing money out of my pocket. I'm going to go give this to your competitor. He deserves it. You don't."
They've been working. You haven't.
If you get that kind of competitive, I have this naturally. I was a middle child, so I always had, always had to fight for food, air, my life, and it just. It helps you keep your game at the top level. Never do anything unethical or illegal, but you should play very aggressive.
Without a doubt. And I think anybody else, in some of the sales situations that I've been in when I was an individual contributor, you know the other reps that are in your territories, or maybe it's small enough companies, their entire team. And I've actually been known to reach out to them and just be like, hey, we know we're competitive, but let's have a conversation. Let's sit down and talk. And if they want to, great, I get more information and I'll share a little bit. And if they don't, that tells me something too. But we all know, despite how low unemployment is right now, sales has a tendency, especially B2B, to be a pretty small ecosystem. Like we all, if you're in SaaS, we all kind of know where the companies are, that are generating some of the best sales reps. And especially with digital, you can keep an eye on them now. It's not hard to keep an eye on who's where, what they're doing, how long their tenure is. Like if they're changing jobs every 8 months, I'm probably not going to worry about them, right? It's just not going to be, they're not blowing it out to stick around the typical 2 years.
And that's it. You can kind of get a sense of their style, of their organization, who they hire, how well they treat people, and really play into that. And I think too many reps make the mistake of, they're going to pick us because we've got a better product. I'm a better salesperson. They live on their laurels, and I'm like, that's not a good place to be.
No, people buy from people they trust, people that move them away from problems and towards solutions. I've won deals when I know what I was selling, the product I was selling did not have the feature set of our competition, or our services were not as well developed as a competitor. And we've beat them because we've been able to demonstrate not only that we understand them, but we also understand our competition well enough that we can inject anxiety questions. Like, hey, just out of curiosity, have you asked the other vendors X, Y, and Z? When we know the other vendors can't do that or have stumbled with that, right? Helping kind of coach, aggressively coach the prospect or buyer to expand their view of the situation and giving them the questions that they should be asking of the other sales reps.
And I actually, give them evidence. I'll say like, okay, here's how many viewers they have. Here's their audience. Ask them for their stats. That they're after a whole different market. Look who they're targeting. I target your market. They don't target your market. They're just looking for quantity. I've actually taken images off of Instagram when they're on vacation. I go, I don't take vacations.
See this beach? I've never been on this.
I've never been there.
I'm going to be here for you.
Yeah. See, my Instagram, it's me walking around telling you how I'm going to make you money.
That handheld gimbal is not cheap, my friend, and I am walking around the neighborhood telling
I do not stop. And especially when you sell to the entrepreneur, the CEO, somebody whose butt and his money is invested in the business, they get it. That they really do it. And this is where I definitely never stick with one person at the account, because if I get pushback from who's typically the person who buys, I go right over their head. And I don't care if they yell at me. I go, you're not a customer. Once you're a customer, I'll do whatever you say. Until then, I'm going to do whatever I want. And I've always done that as a rep, and I've had them call my boss, and it's like, my boss just says, close the deal, just leave me alone. And I think today you can be persistent and aggressive without being a jerk.
Well, yeah, and that's just it. A lot of people would, the minute you say the word aggressive, especially in the environment we're in today, people kind of I don't know if I can do that. I need to be a little bit more authentic and more emotionally available. All right, first off, I'm not emotionally available. I've been in sales too long, and I've had too many divorces to be emotionally available.
Therapist said, yeah.
It is what my therapist says. She keeps telling me that. Stop getting married. Okay, I got the
Stop getting married. That'll stop one problem.
but there's a way to be respectfully persistent, right? And that persistence, it's aggressive when you do it on purpose. It's not an accident, right? Like I know I can help you. Let me show you how I can help you. And if you're not going to, pass me to the right person I need to talk to because you're not a customer, then that means you're not seeing the problems, right? That we know we can solve, or the impact it's having on the business. I have to, as a professional, I have to find the people that recognize the impact those problems have on the organization. And so I am going to be respectfully persistent. And I'm sorry you don't think that me going over your head right now is respectful, but I'm not saying anything bad about you. I'm just trying to get to the people that understand there is a problem that if they don't solve, it's going to have negative consequences for the business. And I'm here to help.
And that's it. And our job is to find the person who cares. And too many people, they care about their role within the company. They care about their resume, their portfolio, but they don't care about the real company. They care about themselves. And that's both good and bad. But as salespeople, we have to understand that because we sell what's best for the company, but they care about what's best for themselves. So even sometimes a CEO, they care about the next earnings call or the next press release or the next product release. We've got to find out what they care about and speak to that at the level with the words that they want to hear.
Right. Exactly. I mean, at the end of the day, I've always preferred I've sold, Fortune 500, I've sold into Global 1000, and those can be fun. They're always, there's always like 200 people, it seems like, involved in every decision, especially for the price points I was selling at. But I've always really liked selling to SMB because when you sell SMB, you have those people that understand, they've consciously made the decision that I am going to work my rear end off right now and make some of the sacrifices I have to make, not do as many vacations or vacations at all. Understand that in order to get that business to grow and the longer term returns are there, they respect that grit, for lack of a better word, that sales reps that do it in a respectful, polished, professional manner bring to the table.
Yeah, and if you're there and you're out supporting your competition, you're willing to do more for them. You care about how they get rewarded and what they want to do. Then people get that, and very few salespeople do that. Everyone's really good at showing up and giving the PowerPoint and giving a proposal and following up, but that's not enough today. I think you have to do something different because everyone's doing that.
Sure. I mean, everybody's got a marketing team that's putting together these decks, and now designers are on staff. So it's not even like your deck's going to probably look that much better than the competition. We all know what the channels are. They're putting stuff out on social media. We're putting stuff out on social media. Like it's becoming also cliche that the differentiator, what makes the sale different, is what the salesperson brings to the table. It is that humanity, that insight, that aggressiveness, that persistence, that ability to show, hey, I understand your business, and be a true consultant in the process.
And that's it. And if you're unwilling to make that investment in learning enough to differentiate yourself, to lock out your competition, to pull them apart, to set traps for them, and this doesn't take a whole lot of time today, and it's never been easier.
Yeah, it's so easy. I mean, everything's online.
Yeah.
Have you guys heard about this thing called the internet?
YouTube. It's like, they've got webinars, they've got their presentation, they've got the architecture, they've got what their customers are saying. I love when people put their customers up there because I immediately call them.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, how'd that work out for you? Oh, well, have you ever looked at another alternative? You probably aren't aware of this. I've been doing this for 9 years. Let me kind of bring you up to speed and give you a different issue. And let's do a free one at first and see how it works out for you. And all of a sudden you build a relationship with them where someone else is just giving them a price list.
Yeah, I mean, we actually we're in the process of evaluating sales content management system backend. There's 5 vendors. There were 5. There are now 4 vendors in the mix, and I haven't been able to make it to any of the scheduled meetings when they're going to do the demo because hey, guess what? I've got clients and I got to be on the road. But you know what? I saw the demo because they're all on YouTube. I went and watched the demos and sent my notes in to the committee. I'm like, here, this is the one I would pick, and here's why. And even at one point, it was funny. Somebody came back and said, they didn't show us that in the demo. And I'm like, well, I didn't see your demo. But this video over here, here's a link to it. And I never talked to the sales rep because all I'm doing is looking at the feature set and the functionality. I don't need to talk to the rep. I'm not power in this case. The CEO is power. I'm just on the committee. I'm an influencer. Yeah. But I don't, you know what? I can go look at all of their demos online and I don't have to be on those calls, which makes it harder for sales reps. That's why you have to work to really get that personal relationship.
And find out all those influencers because you probably care about one or two things.
Yeah, I'm very clear about it. It's got to be. It has to work on my phone. Whatever we pick has to work on my phone. It has to be mobile, and it has to. Damn it, it has to look good. Like we're at the point now where if your software looks like crap, you might want to take a step back. Right, we're just to the point where there's a certain level of expectation in terms of UX and user interface and usability that we've seen drive the efficiencies, right? And that's part of the challenge when you're working with selling to, high-level executives. I could tell you all of the cool things that this product does or the benefits my service can provide, but I need to understand what your view of the world is. I need to understand what you're thinking about so I can connect what I do to that and show you, hey, there's some other things you haven't thought about that I may not come right out and say this. I know the competition can't do, but you might want to ensure you ask all your vendors these 3 questions because I know none of the other guys you're talking to are going to be able to do that.
And I think too many companies are trying to be too high velocity versus too effective.
It amazes me the quantity over quality thing.
Oh, it's just insane. And it's been something I've been ranting about because it's really reducing revenue, not increasing revenue. Because you're running into exactly your case where they're not talking to all the players. And if they just heard that one thing, they know that everybody else in the company who's on that committee, like you, cares about that same thing.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, take the time. It amazes me that, hey, I'm more concerned about the number of things in my pipeline than the quality, right? If you give me 30 minutes and I can go through your pipeline, I guarantee I can reduce it by 50%. because the vast majority of sales reps, look, they have happy ears. We all want to believe that every deal is going to happen, but you got to be not only aggressive when you're going after customers, not only aggressive and persistent when you're diagnosing the competition, but you got to be really aggressive with your pipeline and your qualification and yourself. Don't let yourself believe that you're the be all end all. You got to prove it, right? Set it up, be aggressive in your review of everything that you're doing.
And that's it. And think about, how many deals do you really close a quarter? And, okay, take those on your pipeline and go a little bit deeper on them. Put some insurance on those deals by talking to more people. I did a video of like the number one symptom of a deal that will not close this quarter is that you're only talking to one person.
Exactly.
Now, you wouldn't believe the number of VPs of sales that liked and commented on that, saying, oh, my God, I just went through a review where half the deals were single-threaded. And I'm like, they're not going to close. They're not.
They're not. I mean, come on. We all know. Like, let's be honest, guys. Like, we all know that almost everything of any significant size, and I'm not talking transactional sale, but any significant size, there is at least 3 people involved in that decision-making process: legal, procurement, and you. That's best case. Best case. Every deal, at least 6 or 7 people are involved. Now, I may not be able to get to all of them, but the more that I talk to, the more opportunity I have to connect with them, the more that I build into my sales approach, bargaining for access to somebody else, for expanding out that set. And you want to talk about being really hardcore aggressive about making sure that happens. That's where you're going to see the greatest result. Number of single-threaded deals, I'm trying to think. Have I ever closed a single-threaded 7-figure deal? I don't think I have.
In the 7-figure
I don't think
range.
I have.
No.
I don't think I have, right? There's always like 100 people involved. So go talk to more of them.
And that's it. They don't surface the issue until it's too late. The only way you're going to find out what the real issues are that's delaying it or it's going to delay it is by asking, connecting up with people. Oh, we have to run it by the security team. Oh, really? Let's go talk to the security team. Oh, compliance hasn't reviewed this. Oh, let's go talk to compliance instead of waiting. Or trying to think you're going to use a discount to get somebody else to, expedite it through security or compliance. That's
disposition. Help them out. Like, hey, I know you're busy. You just said that security's got to. Whoever in security can I go talk to, and I'll circle back when we've got the meaningful stuff set up. So I'm saving you some time. Let me do the work. Let me work for you. I mean, a lot of people, some people will love it. Some people will be like, oh, I'm not sure if I trust you enough yet or whatever. But if you're not asking, if you're not aggressively expanding out inside of an account, then you're kind of mailing it in. Sorry, that single-threaded thing, I know I've heard you rant about it too. It is one of the things that hits me as like duh. Yeah, I mean, it's always the first question. Whenever a rep came to me and would say, hey, I lost this deal, how many people were you talking to? One. Okay.
Okay. And even if you met other people, like at the presentation or a meeting, but that person says, let's be exclusive, that's the red flag. That deal's not going anywhere.
Yeah. No, I'll talk to him for you. Yeah, okay. And honestly, that qualification, especially now, right, getting ready to start a new year or at the end of a year, that qualification really helps you figure out where you should be spending your time.
And it also blocks out the competition, because the deeper you're in there, the more time that you take up of theirs, that's time that they cannot give to the competitor. And in the very early stages of a brand new startup, my strategy was to utilize the customer's time to the exclusion of my competitors. And I would literally go on the POCs, and if it was a week long, I would stay there the whole week because I knew my competitor would not want to be in the same room with me.
How about the times when you show up, like, okay, you get to the dog and pony portion of the sales process, you got to come in, you got to pitch to somebody, and it turns out you're staying in the same hotel as your competition, and you all show up at the bar at the same time.
No, I'm out fixing their car for them.
Yeah. Hey guys, I don't know what's going on, but I think your tires are flat.
You need air. Can I buy you a drink? The Cosby special.
Yeah. Oh, too soon, bro. Too soon.
Too soon? Okay, sorry.
I love it though. I mean, but seriously, I mean, because if you've done your homework, right, and this goes back to what we were talking about earlier, if you've done your homework, you know who the competition is, that, you've obviously, when you signed in, you look to see who else is signed in. So if you see, company A, B, and C, then you got a pretty good feel of, all right, if they're doing a dog and pony, they brought their sales rep and maybe, a subject matter expert, who those people are. So now with LinkedIn, you even know what they look like. And so literally, I would say probably 3 times in the last 18 months, I've ended up going out to meet with a customer or a prospect and seen my competition literally sitting across the bar from me.
Oh, and I always had the one more thing, Steve Jobs' trick. When they coming in after us, they'd be looking in the window of the meeting room trying to get set up, and I go, just 1 second. Let me tell you about this account. I go 15, 20 minutes into their time.
Oh, love it.
And I've asked to see their proposals. I would never give a proposal until, the very last minute. And, I go, just give us one final chance. And, and you can tell when you're kind of winning and you're losing, because the communication changes and how they treat you changes. And I think you have to be sensitive to this. And a lot of reps aren't. But certainly at certain stages, there's just a handful of real deals that are really going to close at a real dollar amount that's life-changing for you.
Well, and that's just it, right? So how many of us, I always took the approach of I was going to stratify my pipeline, aggressively stratify my pipeline. I'm going after this size company, which I know is going to have a shorter sales cycle. I'm going to layer on top of that a little bit larger, range of company, which I know is going to have a little bit longer sales cycle. And then the whales. And I'm going to work them all aggressively. I'm going to be ridiculously aggressive in how I qualify where I am with the account and where I need to focus so that I can make sure when I'm working with those customers, I understand how to talk to somebody in a certain size company more effectively and what types of things I'm going to need to provide to them or insights I'm going to have to share with them in order to expand their view of reality so that we're a perfect fit for what they're trying to solve. If I'm aggressive in every aspect, persistently aggressive, respectfully persistent, in every aspect of that I'm doing in sales, then I am executing the discipline. And my goal personally is always to be the best I can be and help others get to that point as well. And that requires, man, it's a heavy lift. It's like sales is not like show up and they write you big checks.
No,
it doesn't work that way.
And that's it. And the people certainly in the larger complex sales, the ones that go deeper, that do more, that really focus their time on those most likelies and have a real good, asset test for determining who's got the juice within the company, who's going to help them, what they need to do, and, how to keep that momentum going. Because if you don't, somebody's going to be right behind you. And you get
somebody else wants that deal.
Yeah, there's just not that many of them. If you're in the small, tiny transactional deals, they'll buy both products, and who cares? But if you want the enterprise where you're getting, a 7-figure deal, they're not going to do that with two companies.
Right. Not going to happen.
And that's it. And once that seed is planted, it's really hard to unseat them, certainly with a lot of technology products.
Well, what was the stat I saw? Is like if you were going feature to feature comparison, in order to get rid of an incumbent, you had to demonstrate 5x ROI or 5x, speed, 5x more than whatever the incumbent had to even get the attention of somebody, right? And that I don't want to do that. Now, I also believe that there's no such thing as a lost account. It's just delayed. So if they're signing a year-long contract, then 7 months in, I'm going to re-engage and start asking the questions that I know based on my research on the competition that probably turn into pain points for those people.
And that's it. And if you can say, well, I will, pull them out and put us in and will not leave until it's working to your satisfaction, and will not charge you a cent until it does, and you can run them parallel until you're happy, then you got a chance. But, just by being cheaper or even 5x more capability, and I've seen companies go out of business and they're still sticking with the one that's out of business because it's just working. I mean, how many COBOL systems are still up and running? Right?
I knew you were going to read COBOL. It's amazing how much is still out there.
I hope you enjoyed that. I mean, a lot of people are out there talking about winning back business, doing it through insight. That's an element. That's one way to gain interest. That is not going to change anyone's mind into taking action. Action's what we care about. And action requires multiple meetings, multiple stakeholders with lots of reasons, with business justifications, and a strategy to make that change. And that's what I talk about in the course, Closing the Complex Sale. How do you lock out your competition? How do you just crush them? How do you just do not let them in your territory? When I'm competing against somebody, I just pull them apart like a chicken. Sorry. I just get really worked up about this because I've always had to compete for my business, and I was never the bigger company. I never had the upper hand. But you always have strengths. You always have things that they can't do or things that you do better. And we have to really wedge those things into the deal and own the deal. So check out the course, Closing the Complex Sale, at b2brevenue.com. Also, big thank you to everybody who's been sharing my content on LinkedIn. I really appreciate it. Give it a little thumbs up, a little like, maybe a comment or two would be nice. I really appreciate that. Help spread the brutal truth. Tell a friend. I appreciate that. And have you checked out Co-Video? Great way to connect with people this time of year. Send them a holiday video email. It's heartwarming. Send me one, will you? I really appreciate it. Brian G. Burns at me.com. And I really appreciate all the support you've given me this year. The podcast has blown up. It's been 4 fantastic years since I've been really serious about it. The 5 years before that, it was kind of a hobby. It's been a profession now for 4 years. It's blown up. The courses are taken off, and to fill you in on them, it's not just a video course. It's not a monthly subscription. It's a year commitment to one of two topics. One, getting into new accounts, start the conversation, get the meeting, or the other is closing the complex sale. And it's a year commitment on my part and your part. We get office hours every other Friday per course for an hour, where it's half lesson, half Q&A, half case studies, all of that great stuff, plus unlimited one-on-ones. So you get sales coaching. As long as I can put the content in the course, is absolutely free to you, included in the course. And make it the year where you really improve. Now, the one-on-ones I might be getting rid of in January, depending on the number of people who sign up. So, obviously the prices are going to go up January 1st. So if you want it, lock it in right now in November. If you sign up in November and you can't start till January, let me know. I'll extend it for a month for you. And I certainly understand, but I want you part of it. I want to help you make next year the best year ever in sales. And the way to do it is constant improvement, practice, understanding, learn, do, review, do it again. That cycle, it's not just knowing. It's not like, okay, I can tell you that. I could tell you every secret, but if you don't do it right, do it consistently, do it better, where does that leave us? Not where we want to be. We'll see you next time. Thanks for listening. Hey, everybody. Thanks for listening to this episode. And I really would appreciate everybody who goes onto LinkedIn, connects up with me, or follows me there. If you happen to see some of my content flying by, if you could throw a little thumbs up or a comment or a share, I definitely appreciate it. It helps spread the word about the podcast. And make sure you're checking out my website, b2brevenue.com. You can get my free book on how companies make product selections. It's a real book. It is on Amazon, but I give it away for free. Just register there. It'll email you a link to it, and you can just download the PDF from there. Also, if you want to check out the courses, start the conversation, get the meeting, or closing the complex sale, and you have more questions about it, the short answer is there are video courses. You get access for a year, but it's also a community. What does that mean? You can ask questions anytime via voicemail or email. I answer them within a week, put them into the course. We have office hours every other week. It's an hour long course where you can I pick a topic, answer questions, you can ask questions. Also, you can schedule one-on-ones for free, and we just talk through your particular use case, and that gets shared with the course. So if you don't have time for office hours, or the timing doesn't work, or you just want some more one-on-one help, that's all included for a whole year. So it's really a year to go from where you are to where you want to be. And so it's not just videos, it's not just knowledge, it's practice, it's getting feedback. You can send me emails, you can send me your presentation. I'll help you with anything that you need to close the complex sale or get the meeting. And you can check out them at b2brevenue.com. So that's it. I really appreciate it. And please tell somebody about the podcast and let me know if I can help you in any way. Oh, and you want to hear some results from the course? Well, here you go.
You know, I love the approach. It's working for me just fantastic. If I sent you some of the emails, which I should, the conversations that I'm having with people, I think you'd be blown away because they're not really about work. Yeah. I've figured out if you can kind of get personal with them, like one lady, it's all about her family, kids. And then I sprinkled in a little bit around work, and she's LinkedIn, sending me messages on LinkedIn, photos of her family. No, I'm not even kidding. I should show this to you. You'd be stunned. I was shocked. And we're going to lunch on September 6th. And yesterday she shot me a LinkedIn message and said, "Hey, Ron, why don't we get on the phone and do a video call beforehand so our lunch isn't so awkward? We're like barely not meeting each other for the first time." Oh, holy cow, right? Like, this is unbelievable. So this is not the first time that this has happened. She's kind of an extreme, but I'm starting to figure out a pattern where I can actually make this a process, you know? So
good. Yeah.
I'll show you that. So it's getting to that point. And every time I do this, I'm like, God, this is unbelievable, you know? So,
and it feels better too, doesn't it?
Oh, Brian, let me tell you something. To be able to go go to lunch with her. I'll even talk to her on the phone, right? We're going to talk about family, kids, work-life harmony, because I shared a thing with her from Bezos about work-life harmony. This is where the conversation will start. Now, at some point, we're both not stupid, right? We know we're going to talk about work. We know why we're both there.
Right.
But to kick it off this way is so much better. And to end that lunch with the last 5 to 8 minutes of telling, well, what are you guys doing with digital